And joining us is Chloe Dobbs, a political commentator, regular of this parish. How are you, Chloe?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, very good. Let's have a listen then, because, I mean, those figures, as I've just been talking about, are beyond eye-watering. I mean, 212 billion quid a year, this is. You know, it's not likely to go into reverse anytime soon. In fact, every bit of surveying on this says it's going to increase. A lot of inactivity, up 800,000 since 2019, set to rise by another 600,000 by 2030. Let's have a listen to Kemi Badenoch, leader of the opposition. Here's what she had to say about benefits recently and the Tories' plan to help crack down on this huge bill.
We have done the hard work and we have a plan to cut welfare spending. First, British benefits for British citizens. It is common sense that you should not draw out of a system that you haven't paid into. Second, we will restrict benefits to those with the more severe mental health conditions, not anxiety or mild depression.
And there's the point, Chloe, isn't it? Anxiety or mild depression, because, and I don't want to be cruel to anyone, and I think when we mention the bad back comparison, there is that sense that, you know, anxiety is not quite the same thing. It can be awful, by the way. You know, you can have awful anxiety. I mean, lots of people do. Is it enough to stop you working?
No, and I think that in most cases of mild mental issues, the best thing you can do for yourself is start building up a routine, start being environments where you're connecting with other people, so you've got good relationships with co-workers, you've got a sense of purpose. Simple things like that, when you haven't got some really serious mental health issue where there's a huge amount of trauma to unpack, right? For most people, the best thing you can do is sort your eating out, sort your exercise out, get a routine, get a job, be around good people, and getting a job rather than withering away in bed is the best way to do that. So it is going to be helping people to actually give them a bit of tough love and take these benefits away. And also, most people who are in a bit of a rut, the best way to get out of that is to hit some sort of rock bottom, right? That's where you have a turnaround point. And if somebody, for example, they're an alcoholic and suddenly they get kicked out the house by their family and they're on the streets, that's their turnaround point, right? But people are this safety net. It stops them from ever hitting that rock bottom that they need to turn it around. And what's happening with a lot of these young people that are going onto these sickness benefits is then they are then trapped in that system and they stay on it for life. And one of the reasons for that is because once you declare yourself as unfit to work, then there's a big risk. If you think, oh, I'm going to try work, but I'm not sure if it's going to work out, you won't get the benefits back again. So giving people a better opportunity to try work and see if it works for them, and it probably will. But knowing in the back of their head it's not a huge scary thing where you're going to potentially lose all your benefits, especially if you've got kids to support, that would be a really good thing. Also, I think there needs to be radical reform in the NHS as to how we deal with people who have mental health conditions. It is practically impossible to get any sort of therapy from the NHS. Therapy typically costs like £70–80 an hour. Most people can't afford to do that every week. If you go to the NHS, all they'll do is give you some sort of drug, some sort of pill to get rid of you. And also, I know quite a lot of people who they have some sort of mental health issue. They've been to the NHS and the NHS have said, there's nothing you can do about it. You're not curable. All you can do is take this drug and just deal with the issue for the rest of your life. Here you are, get yourself signed off to work and then wither away for the rest of your life. And so they don't then feel the desire to actually try and go to therapy even if they could afford it, because the NHS has told them you're not curable, you're like this for life. So there are a lot of problems, but I hope that we can get out of it, because just financially it's completely unsustainable.
But I do wonder, and particularly with, and again, I know it's that, you know, if you're a bit older, you look at, you know, previous generations as, oh, you know, you never had it so good and all those kind of cliches. You know, I get all of that. But even allowing for that, that's kind of baked in anyway to you know, to the way we perceive different generations. But I genuinely wonder whether there is just large groups of young people who, as I said at the beginning, when they have a bit of anxiety, when they go to work, if they don't like the job they're in, they will transpose that experience as being a mental health issue because they don't like it. And I also think there's certain groups, probably big, huge, in the millions of numbers, who just simply don't want to do certain jobs. The idea of, well, I'll do this job, it's a bit of a pain in the backside, it's not the best job ever, I'll get another one eventually, but in the meantime I'll do this job. If you turn up to a job and it turns out to be boring, I think if we went back to 1950, nobody would even be making that assessment. They probably wouldn't even say it out loud that my job is boring. And then people got a bit more discerning, and now we're in a place where not only will younger people refuse the job, or they'll do it for half an hour and leave the job, they'll then translate that experience as a mental health crisis.
Yeah, and part of that is this sort of victimhood and entitlement mentality of many young people. But another thing is, you talk about people just not wanting to go to work. There's a lack of motivation there. Now, a big reason for that, I think, is because young people, they are incredibly addicted to many different things. They're addicted to their phones. We've got short form content everywhere where you're getting dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. They're all addicted to vapes like crazy. We've got another story to talk about on that today, because they've packed them with way more nicotine than cigarettes have, and so they're getting all these dopamine hits from that. What that means is that the slower release dopamine that you get from doing something purposeful, like working a job and the smaller things in life, you lose motivation for that, because something doesn't give you motivation if it doesn't give you a huge dopamine hit anymore, if you're addicted to all these other things. So I think that's a big issue that needs to be addressed.
How do we solve Sicknote Britain? 0344 499 1000. On to this one, Chloe. This broke in about the last half an hour. A manhunt for another foreign prisoner who's been released by mistake. 24-year-old Algerian prisoner was mistaken released from Wandsworth prison on the 29th of October. The Met informed nearly a week later on November the 4th, and they're now looking for him.
It took them a week to figure out that this guy had been wrongly released. I mean, I think this happens quite often, because we had that report come out after Hadish Kabati was on the loose that the number of wrongly released prisoners has doubled in a year. It's, I think, around 250 a year that are being released accidentally. So I suppose now, after the Hadish Kabati case, it's making the news a bit more. And maybe this one's more of a serious case, because this man has, although he was in prison for trespassing on this occasion, he has got previous sexual offences to his name, so that's going to be a concern for the public. But I mean, what is going on at HMP Wandsworth? Because they also had Daniel Khalif, the terrorist, escape under a food truck. Yeah. He got out of prison, and then we had some issues with. I mean, he did
the old-fashioned escape, didn't he?
Some prison guards.
He did the old-fashioned thing. He literally decided he was going to give it large in the, you know, jump on the axle of underneath a truck.
Yes, see, he actually had to do something vaguely intelligent to get out of there and to hide from the police. He was sneaking around the bushes in Richmond Park and Putney Heath, hiding from the police. But I mean,
disguised as a deer.
Yeah, but I know. But with this case, and the Hadish Kabati case, is literally a case of the prison letting somebody out on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Excuse me, dangerous offender, you're on the list to be released. Didn't anybody... I mean, there's a system. There must be a system when matey turns up with his clipboard and goes, you're out now. Doesn't somebody double-check that and go... Wouldn't you look at the prisoner's face? Because he probably looks more surprised than anyone.
Yeah, also, another thing is that we're hearing that Keir Starmer was warned by security services, by MI5 and so on, that it would be a really big risk to the public to release prisoners early, as they did to try and free up prison space. And we just found out that one of the people who was released early under that scheme has been charged for murder. Yeah. So I think we've got, both with accidental releases and the government doing it on purpose, we've got a big issue on our hands for public safety.
Indeed. Ian says, I'm compiling my own Lammy playlist. Band on the Run by Wings, Breakout by Swing Out Sister, and the theme from Taxi. Love it. Nice one, Ian. Thank you for that. More from Chloe in just a couple of moments. Loads to get through. Lines open at this end, 0344 499 1000. It's 20 past 1. This is Talk. Chloe Dobbs is with us. Let's have a look at this story. And it's, I mean, believe me, the amount of debate in the next couple of years in New York is going to be absolutely huge. And this is Zoran Mamdani, who's won the New York mayoral election. It's a historic victory, 50.4%, becoming the city's first Muslim mayor, and the youngest in a century is just 34. That should preclude you, frankly, from standing. He's pushing free childcare, free buses, free rent, funded by higher corporate and millionaire taxes. Needs state approval, though. Let's have a listen to part of his speech.
So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
Yeah, I mean, every American is an immigrant, by the way. It's a nation of immigrants. There's no big revelation there from Socialist Boy. It's like it's a new country. Yeah. Everyone's come from somewhere. You ain't got no exclusive on this, mate. This it's clearly demonstrably a nut job. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I was looking at one piece that just kind of put it rather nicely in the Telegraph today, and they reported it like this: if all goes to plan, and it's a supersized if, I like that, a New Yorker would be able to drop their kid off at free nursery because he's pledged universal childcare up to the age of 5, take a free bus to work, fares to be scrapped across the service, stop off for groceries at a shop which sells the essentials at wholesale prices, subsidised premises to be built across the city, and return home to an apartment where the rent has not gone up for years because a freeze has been ordered on 1 million residential properties. From the couch, they can then order a takeaway without guilt over labour exploitation because Mr Mamdani has promised to force delivery apps to treat their staff as employees and granting them rights and holiday pay and sick pay. He describes them as deliveristas. What a bozo. Meanwhile, they will have access to a network of hubs across the city to ease them on their travels. They will also be protected from ICE raids, according to the mayor. I mean, this bloke is not... If you think of Jeremy Corbyn, this fella's about 28 postcodes to the left of Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, it sounds to me like he's had a bit of inspiration from the UK Labour Party, promise everything before the election to get the votes and then deliver nothing, which is what I expect will happen. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful, Ian, if money grew on trees? Isn't that the first thing that our parents teach us when we're kids? Money doesn't grow on trees, you can't have everything. But clearly this guy hasn't grown up and hasn't been told that. Also, this guy, when asked if Hamas should lay down their weapons on Fox News, he refused to answer that question. So he's being accused of being a Hamas sympathiser, obsessed with Gaza. I'm sick of it in politics. Yes, you can have an opinion, you can be pro-Palestine, but I hate when we've got politicians who are meant to be taking care of their local area. They're more obsessed with what's going on with the Middle East than delivering for the people around them. I'm sick of that. Also, he, in his celebration speech, one of the first things he did was tick box by championing immigrants, as we heard, championing trans people and championing black women. He had to tick all of those boxes off first before continuing with his speech. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of big rifts between him and Donald Trump, so it's going to be
huge.
Interesting. You're going to see a lot of Truth Social posts going up from Trump.
There'll be lots of that. He's described himself as a browner version of a Scandinavian politician.
What's the obsession with skin colour? I'm sick of it. I don't care what the colour of his skin is.
What's the obsession with Scandinavia, for God's sake? I mean, I know what he's saying. They have a higher tax system and therefore it's seen a better quality of life. Look, he's the mayor. It's a different sort of role. It's a more responsible role. It's a bigger role than a mayor in this country. But he is just the mayor. He's not the president. And, he can't just unilaterally make all these kind of decisions about raising taxes.
Let's hope he hasn't got too much power. And again, it's complete socialist delusion. Clearly, again, had some inspiration from Rachel Reeves, thinking, oh, I'll just say that I'm going to tax the rich and all the money will come my way. He should take a look at what's happening now and the panic that the Treasury are happening here now. They've realised that if you tax the rich, they all run away and go somewhere else. Who'd have thought?
Here's another story just to finish on. Vaping is more popular than cigarettes for the first time, with 10% of British teens using them last year. Vaping is off the scale. This thing didn't even exist half an hour ago. And then the amount of shops, they're all over the place. You can't walk anywhere without the smell of Hubba Bubba, not coming from a chewy packet of gum, but coming out of somebody's vape pipe. And some of those vapes, they look more like bloody canoes. Have you seen the size of some of those things? Good Lord.
I mean, it's an epidemic. It's everywhere. Everywhere I go, I see people.
You don't vape, do you?
Of course I don't. I see people puffing on their vapes.
You do very
constantly.
healthy stuff.
But I understand. You know, I feel sorry for some of these people that are madly addicted to their vapes because they've been told, oh, there are no side effects. It's perfectly healthy. But the thing is first of all, I don't think we've looked at this enough. I don't think it's existed for long enough for us to really know what the side effects of this are. But as I was talking about earlier, what this means is that you're completely frying your brain and you're going to lose the pleasure you get from anything else, from work, from friends and family, from exercise, everything else in your life. You're going to lose pleasure from that if you are giving yourself dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit over and over again from this vape pen. And what they do is they pack it, because it tastes like Hubba Bubba, as you say, and it doesn't taste like cigarettes. People don't realise how much nicotine is in it.
And there's a lot more nicotine.
They put way more in it than cigarettes. So hence why people are so madly addicted to these vapes as soon as they have a go on them. And a lot of kids, because it's all exciting, these nice flavours, they get on it very young and then they're going to be stuck for life.
Can I just give a message? This is a blunt message to teens out there. Put down your vapes and buy yourself a packet of Marlboro Reds. Ofcom fans, I didn't say that, all right? Don't take me too seriously. Chloe, thank you very much. Chloe Dobbs with us on the programme. Over to you. Sicknote Britain. How do we solve that one?